So I'll count it off.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3.
Just let's go.
1, 2, 3, go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey folks, welcome back to the rehearsal room. Nick here.
Aaron's here.
This week we're going to talk about we're going to have some spicy takes, I believe. We're going to go through the topic of the use of AI. That's artificial intelligence for.
That's what I try to project to people. I have
Aaron
I don't
intelligence.
have any real intelligence, so
He has Aaron intelligence.
all artificial.
Yeah, so I know this is kind of a hot subject at the moment because, you know, there are a lot of artists and creators out there that have their opinions. But Aaron, do you have any kind of info that you'd want to give out before we start?
To be honest, this is a topic that I think you know far more about and have looked into far more than I. So, to be honest, I wouldn't say I don't have strong opinions. It's just to say I feel like I don't have informed opinions.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's to say I'm very interested in it to a degree, but I would really, before I would make full judgments on every part of it, I would like to learn a lot more of it.
Yeah.
But it's still an interesting topic. It's one that, as you said, we're seeing it. We've discussed it. You know, whether it's no matter where you look, you know, I'm certainly not necessarily an internet TikTok kind of person in that way. But hey, Deicide's last album cover was AI. High on Fire's music video was AI. Yep. So it's invading my world too. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it is that sort of thing. Is like it seems to be becoming more and more prevalent. You're hearing about it all the time, whether it's commercials about it, so on and so forth. So yeah, I think it's an interesting topic and one that maybe is something where I'll learn some stuff from what you're saying and then just try to, you know, as I said, something that I think we're going to, you know, we were talking before is like this slide is about to slide. So, you know, if you know, whether you're ready for it or not, AI is coming.
Get caught up.
Yeah, it's going to happen, you know?
Yeah. So I know like historically AI has been portrayed in media and culture, you know, by way of like the robots that kind of are governing, you know, like famously Rosie the robot from the Jetsons or Robbie the robot from, I forget the fucking show it was on.
Lost in Space.
Lost in Space. Hal from 2001, right?
And it's interesting because those are the two positives to one negative. Nine times out of 10, it is shown in the negative.
And the negative, I mean, because we have famously Skynet,
absolutely,
you know, which everybody is more aware of because of Terminator and whatnot, right? But even more recent movies, Ex Machina, a famous one, Chappie with a robot and stuff like this. Her, exactly. Yeah, that's a great one. You know, so I know there are portrayals of AI use in movies that kind of put it in a beneficial light to some degree, and it does show you some of the more kind of pitfalls of the use of AI or letting it run rampant.
Well, certainly, I think, especially in something like a movie, let's be honest, drama cells.
If
of
it's,
course, you know, happiness with my computers, well, that's just boring. What the hell am I watching here?
Right.
I need the computer to turn on itself or come from the future to kill somebody.
Right. It's set in a dystopian landscape.
I mean, right? 9 times out of 10, AI and dystopia go together like peanut butter and jelly. You know, in most movies, and certainly even just future movies in general.
Yes.
You know, I know technically, I guess it was AI, but Blade Runner. You know,
Blade Runner.
It's not exactly, you know,
great
it's not sunny.
Example. Yes. Yeah. Right.
You know,
Minority Report and actually the movie AI. Right.
Alien. Alien. You know, the big villain in it, despite the thing that eats everybody, but ultimately turns out to be the robot that reprograms the mother.
The computer.
And the robot guy.
The android.
He knows what's really going on and doesn't care because he works for the company and he wants to bring it back to Wayland.
Right.
So we have almost. I don't mean that in a bad way, but almost been programmed to be fearful of this sort of thing.
Yes.
And that's kind of our default as humans for any new thing that comes along, whether it was a car, whether it was manufacturing.
Yep.
We've always been scared of the new thing that comes along. But some fears are going to be realized or are very real, and we should be worried about them.
Yeah. So I think when AI was first being mentioned in just general culture, it was supposed to be supplemental to what people were doing.
Yes.
Right? It was supposed to assist production
Right.
of whatever sort. And, something that I've noticed in the past when new technology, and this isn't a solitary my take on this.
No.
It's something that's, that I've certainly picked up from others out there, is that technology gets used primarily, it gets militarized, it gets weaponized, right? And then it takes over anything that's creative, right? So in the past, satellite type stuff and X-rays and whatnot,
Or GPS that got us here.
GPS,
Is
exactly.
Thank you to the military.
Yes, right? And also like instant messaging
Yes.
comes from, military use primarily.
Internet brought
The
to you
internet
by
as
the
a whole.
Pentagon. Yes.
Dude, all that stuff, right?
Well, it's an unlimited paycheck that funds whatever they're into. you know?
Exactly. So when AI came about, I remember one of my initial fears was that it was going to take over most of the creative fields, whether it was writing, the musical aspect of being creative, or like something like movie media, right? Like TV shows and movies and whatnot.
Right.
And unfortunately, I think that's something that's come true in all three of those.
Well, certainly with AI as we know it now. Because,
yes,
early AI, something that I guess, technically we're talking what constitutes as artificial intelligence. We're talking, I think it said somewhere like 30s or 40s England. It was like a thing that could play chess.
Sure. Yes.
And we've seen IBM's guy play what was it?
Blue something.
Yeah, but it was on Jeopardy.
Yeah,
and then it'll play people in chess and beat these grandmasters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Technically AI is what goes. Hey, I see you liked Conan the Barbarian. You may also like Conan the Destroyer.
That's the supplemental use of AI.
Right, absolutely. Right? So I guess what I'm saying is it has been in our lives, but now we are starting to see it become something more intrusive,
more prevalent,
like the Her and the other things that we have seen prior. Where before it was the convenience of a microwave over an oven. Well, now it's telling us what to eat, or it wants to produce what we're eating, not just what we're reheating.
Yes.
If I will. I don't
know if that's a good.
But just in our recent times, this is what we're ultimately talking about, how it is affecting in our recent times. I think is what
even like in production, like in something more tangible, like the lines of production at car plants, right?
Yes. The number one thing that has killed manufacturing more than anything else is automation.
Automation, exactly. And that was supposed to help. That was all supposed to help.
Well, it helped somebody. It helped somebody get rich. It didn't help us as Americans necessarily.
Well, yeah, the common person, the common worker,
absolutely.
Right? Not using common as a
no.
But just like the everyday worker.
There's a reason why Detroit is now a dystopian city than when it was when Ford and all the other motor companies were there.
So maybe those fears that dystopia that we took in media wasn't so far off.
No.
Right. So I know a couple of recent examples, and I'll start primarily with music.
Please.
You mentioned the Deicide cover and the High on Fire video.
Right.
I found out that Tears for Fears, who I just recently learned were still an active band, also used AI for one of, I think it's a live album or a single that they're just putting out. And then an older goth band called the Dance Society used AI on their artwork as well.
And I'm sorry, maybe I missed it, but the Tears for Fears, they used the AI on what?
On the cover.
Oh, okay, so their artwork. Okay.
Yeah, the artwork.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's your opinion on that?
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, and please, listeners included. As I understand it, the first time I heard about AI doing the artwork, I thought, well, who gives a shit? So you tell it to draw a flower, it draws a fucking flower. Who gives a shit?
Right.
Now, as I understand it, no, that's not what it does. When you say, hey, I want a demon head on this cover, because I'm Deicide, and obviously I need a demon head on here.
As one does.
It wouldn't be Deicide without it, right?
Right.
It doesn't go, let me think. How would I do a demon? It essentially goes through the entire internet looking for demon heads and does a conglomerate of demon heads.
Right.
I mean, I've messed with it a little bit. There was that one that was going around where you could type in a phrase and it would come up with whatever you could, like, it would draw shit for you.
Yeah.
I did Michael McDonald eating McDonald's, and it's him with a fucking Big Mac and a large fry in his hands.
Yeah.
Danzig, I put Danzig ice skating, and it's, it's pretty good,
Yeah.
That I don't like. I mean, essentially, you can't. It's not the same as saying, for instance, the bands you play in are clearly influenced by other bands.
Sure.
But it's still filtered through Nick.
Yeah.
So it does have you doing it. This is not the same. They're not going like, oh, I'm inspired by Picasso.
Right.
So I want to draw something. No, it's literally going, oh, Picasso does that. Well, then I'll do that. And he does that. Oh, well, that's what a Rembrandt looks like. And you want your cover to look like a Rembrandt painting. Then I'll make it look like a Rembrandt painting.
Yeah.
That's just copying.
Yes.
In other words, it's not even sampling like what hip hop would do. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
It's not even interpolation.
Because I have come across conversations where like, well, bands use samples from, previously made media, right? Like movies or other songs.
Okay,
and like hip hop and stuff like that.
But even then, think about the history of that. Yes, early on, many bands were doing those things, and quite frankly, they were illegal.
Sure.
It's why Paul's Boutique can never be made again.
Right.
Because you couldn't afford it. The album would cost you like $60 million just to make.
Get the rights. And
just
all
to
that
get the
stuff.
rights to all those songs. So that is why that has changed now. That's why you have rap groups that had to give out a bunch of money or give royalties over to bands. So if that were happening, maybe that would be different. But it's not, right? I mean, AI is collecting it and then going, this is essentially, I'm intaking every single demon head I've ever looked at, and this is what I've shit out.
And not just that, the samples it's taking from, we'll call them collectively data sets.
Okay.
Right? AI is going to go into the data sets that it has access to, and that is the entirety of the internet.
Right.
And then it'll, make an amalgamation of what it comes up with,
Right.
as closest to what Aaron would have typed into the prompts.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
A lot of that stuff is made up of amateur artists. There are a lot of websites out there for amateur artists, non-professionals, and even professionals that put up their sample work to get employed.
Absolutely, yes.
So if AI is coming in and taking that artwork and using it,
yes,
which there are examples of
I'm sure.
AI results having signatures of these artists, and it's just kind of scribbled out or faded over,
So you're stealing.
They're stealing, exactly, right? Famously, something Amazon's been doing is it's been giving its AI program access to like over 1 million books out there so that it can teach its AI how to write, And I know there's a lot of authors that are kind of like, whatever, it's going to happen anyway. But then there's a lot of authors who are like, that's my life's work, and not that I'm going to make $1 million.
No.
That's my life's work, and I'd like for it to not be stolen from me.
I don't disagree. It's again, they're sampling, interpreting, inspired by. It's not the same thing as stealing.
Exactly.
It's just not. And there's got to be a line there. And if we don't follow that, then I don't know. I certainly don't want any artist being stolen from. And if you're going to do it and you're not going to give the credit, then you're stealing. Period. End of story.
Yes. And I think AI at this point, it's kind of like the Pandora's box.
There's no doubt.
Wide and everything is out. But I believe there are still ways of kind of setting things correct.
I hope so. I mean, so much of what I think technology is, let's be honest, is the technology itself is neither good nor evil. It is what it is. It's really about who's using it, right? I mean, I think for the most part, a 3D printer. I remember watching a thing. 3D printers were starting to become this thing. You had a guy that was using a 3D printer. He was making casts for children.
Sure.
He was also making mechanical arms for children who had lost limbs, not just in this country, but in other countries.
Yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful thing, and he could do it so much cheaper out of plastic that was lighter for children.
Right.
That's the world I want to live in.
Yes.
But in this same documentary, some asshole comes along and goes, "Oh, by the way, I can also 3D print a gun."
A gun, right?
And you go, "Oh, fuck me, we got to get rid of these 3D printers."
Yeah.
Because the thing's completely made out of plastic. You only need 2 metal parts.
Right.
Oh, fuck. So I think the same thing with AI. Some of what I learned up into this podcast, I saw a doctor talking about it. and the possibilities of what AI could do when it comes to diagnosis, when it comes to processing information so that we give a proper diagnosis in a quicker amount of time that can help the person perhaps live longer, better medicines, so on and so forth. I thought that was wonderful. And what I also loved was he also says, but, okay, here comes the but. What's the bad part? The people designing this AI need to be as diverse as the people that we are working with. Because the reality is there isn't one pill for each person.
Right.
Where you grow up, how you grow up, where your society in which you grow up, your race, ethnicity, so on and so forth, are going to be all part of this.
Factors.
And if all of them are factors, and if we're not having people understand that, then this will be for nothing.
Right.
In the meantime, AI, I think he said, I don't know if he gave a number. Maybe I gave myself a number because he probably said several, but mentioned that there have been certain cancers that have been cured because of AI. It helped assist, where we were talking before, the good part of it, assist to get to the results faster. Yeah. That's wonderful. But again, who will control this? Will we decide we don't need to use it in certain places?
I think the fact that we can't answer the who will control this yet is the problem also.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Because AI for the in the bigger picture of things, it's just been set out in the wild and told, all right, here you go.
Like
free for everybody.
Almost like the internet was.
Kind of like the internet, yes. So, I know people use ChatGPT and every other kind of generative AI out there, which I don't fault them for using it, but I kind of think, like, what are you doing, even if you know the repercussions of using it? Because there are also real world results that happen with using something like ChatGPT or image generators or stuff like that, because it pulls natural resources.
Again,
the databases of the servers that have to be powered.
It's like the Bitcoin shit.
Exactly, it's
Absolutely.
like the Bitcoin.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah, it takes up a bunch of actual natural resources.
Yes.
And we're running out of water as it is, or water that's potable enough for consumption. And now we have to compete with AI coming in.
Wherever you're storing those servers, how much affordable housing could be put up there?
Exactly.
How much,
exactly.
I mean, it is that weird thing. Like, some of this is also where we come from. You and I enjoy art.
Sure.
Music, movies, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
The creative process is what brings that to us.
Yep.
I don't want, like, Doug Stanhope, I think, is the one that had the quote where he's like, isn't 100% unemployment what we should all be shooting for? And it's like, shit, I never thought of it that way. It's like, yeah, I don't want to use AI to make paintings and music. I want AI to do my job that I have now, and then I just collect a check from it.
Sure.
That's what I want AI to do.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, and I go, like, it's weird. I think that's the biggest part for the AI, that where I stand back and say, is this really the world we want to live? Like, the creative arts, that's where we want to use it?
Well,
why?
Because art in general,
sure,
it's an expression of, like, emotion, right? Human emotion. So whatever moves you to write a song, paint a picture, make a movie, write a script and whatnot. That's what we wanted from our fellow human beings, right?
Yes.
And we want to interpret that and then get influenced by it.
Yes.
But how can we if it's being made for us and not coming from something
human? Let's be honest, human.
Yeah, it's human, right?
The flaws of human is what makes the things that we can relate to.
Yes.
Let's be completely honest here. And another thing, as you're saying this, it hits me, is we are living in a world right now where, at least on one side of an aisle, there's a push for diversity.
Right.
And those of us who understand what that means and the diversity, we understand the value of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what could be less diverse than some fucking block coming up with the next story for your favorite TV show or a riff? Like, no, man, I want to hear how your upbringing, whatever that may be, how does that filter through you and you make what you make? And by the way, the mistakes are the things I want.
Part of what makes it, easier to take in. Also, I think because
that's the connection. That's how I know you're a human.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna get to. Yeah, that's what makes it human. That's the part that we latch on to and think, like, well, I could do that too, because this is not picture perfect, right? Like this is inspiring me to pick up a guitar,
There
pick up
it
a
is.
paintbrush, pick up a pencil, write
Yes.
something, and these are all fields that have been affected by the
Yes.
use of rampant AI.
Yes.
Right, I guess it's called generative AI at this point.
Okay.
And not to sound like a hypocrite, because I am blind, I do use applications that are considered AI.
Oh, sure.
I use one called, that's in the name of the app. It's called Seeing AI. What I do is if I can't, obviously I can't read stuff because I am totally blind. So I'll hover my phone over a package and this thing will scan it and detect the text and tell me what it is, right?
Right on.
That's how I don't poison myself when I'm making myself lunch.
But God knows I'm trying.
Yeah, when I'm trying to make a cup of like fruit punch or something, I'm not mixing in like bleach or something in there, right?
Well, this tastes like rat poison.
Yeah, right. Like, this is a little too chemically. So that's assistive AI, which I understand, and even in like music production. There is an AI program that will separate the instruments in a song, so you can kind of find out what each individual instrument is playing, whether it's bass, guitar, drums, or even in a more orchestral setting. It'll separate violins from the cellos and tubas from the French horns, which is great because I think that's how people
I hate
can learn.
French horns. No, please, sorry.
And it's good to kind of. I think it's a cool use of that, so that if you're trying to either learn that specific part,
Sure.
or separate it so you know what's being played, like the pitch it's in, the key it's in,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
whatnot,
yeah.
that's assistive. It's the generative rampant use where
So this is the differentiator, really, when we talk
Yes,
about this, right?
yes.
Assist
Assistive
and generate.
and generative.
Okay,
Yes.
please.
Yeah,
Continue.
so when it's more assistive, this is how if you want, again, some help at work,
Yeah.
whether it's in the production of materials
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatnot, using the AI will supplement what you're already doing there and not replace you.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's when it's replacing the person doing the thing is when it's a lot more dangerous. And I know that's what people,
Now, let me just
Yeah.
again, I'm just pushing back a little devil's advocate here.
Sure.
But you would agree, if I can get a robot to do something that's dangerous for a human being, that's what we want, right?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course, but
Just because
that would be-
sometimes the production is something that is more dangerous, or more importantly,
Right.
can be more accurate than what the human being could do.
And
when I
that's-
put something on a CNC lathe that I program and tell it I need it to move a half inch and go at a depth of 250,
Yeah.
I mean, I could do that, but I promise you, I'm going to fuck that up because I'm not great at measuring all the time. So that thing will not fuck up. It will only do what I tell it. But again, assisting,
And that would be
not
assistive
thinking
AI.
for itself. It doesn't
Yeah.
go to me and go, hey, wouldn't 260 be better?
Right,
You know what I mean? It
right.
just goes, but it will also go, hey, dummy, I just did that calculation. It doesn't work.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, okay,
That
just-
would be considered assistive
Okay,
AI.
and that's I just wanting to make sure we're on the same wavelength with this because I it is that balance, right?
Yeah,
We can't pretend like for you. That's awesome. I'm glad that's in your life where something that can read labels to you,
Yeah.
or even if it just reads the memes I send you,
Which it does.
which is as important as you not dying from rat poisoning, as far as I'm concerned. Because
Right.
my memes are fire, by the way. Anyone
I
want
need
to follow?
memes and no rat poison.
Right. It's pretty much the only things that Nick needs to survive.
Yeah,
And
totally.
again, my memes are fire, so come follow me, please.
100%, yeah.
But it's just to say, I agree. Like this is, as you said already, the Pandora box of it all.
Yeah. And with stuff like this,
Mm-hmm.
and again, that example that you gave, that's the supplemental use of something where it's helping your production,
Absolutely.
especially
Yes.
in a job like that. If and I don't want to give other examples of like how it can supplement, but like one thing that was close and near and dear to me was like I liked doing research a lot.
I hear you.
Right? So when but a bigger percentage of the research field can get replaced by somebody typing in prompts of, hey, give me this
Yeah,
in
no.
this format.
No doubt.
You don't need the researcher. You don't need the person doing the work. And I think that's a huge loss because not that the researcher is going to interpret the information for you, but they're going to go and look and find actual valid information for you to make your decision on, right?
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah.
Plus, not just the resource pool that it takes
Sure.
to replace the researcher, but it's also like don't you want to read this is why you're being given this assignment. You need to read the things, right?
I think that certainly comes to my mind is like, look, if I'm typing it in and it gives me it back, you know, as they've shown with certain studies, it's like writing it commits it to memory better than typing it.
Yes.
You know, so, you know, if you're just handing it to someone and say, I mean, let's be honest, you know, it's like just getting somebody to write your report for you, right?
Yeah,
you didn't learn shit.
You don't learn anything.
Now, I have said this out loud, and I will continue to. I'd be a lying sack of shit if I didn't tell you in high school how much I would have used the shit out of ChatGPT. You know, I wasn't a great student. I wasn't interested in a lot of the things that were going on in school. Now, what is funny or what's interesting is it doesn't mean I don't like to learn. I love to learn. Sure. There's nothing more. This discussion, when you brought it up, I like I said, I did some little bit of research and learned some stuff. And it was like, oh, this is very interesting. Oh, okay, I see the pros and cons. So I didn't. Obviously, I did. And I know this phrase is now turned into something else, but I did my own research. But you know, I did. I didn't allow others to do it. I found videos, I found some articles, but I read from a great different stuff. You know what I mean? I got 5 or 6. Not somebody who said, "Here's the 2 you need to read, and don't read anything else."
Right.
And I think yes, the loss of that, and more importantly, when you put it in your head and keep it there, you know. But I also understand if a kid goes, "Hey man, I don't want to read the Count of Monte fucking Cristo. Just write the goddamn report for me so I can turn it in and get my C+." I do get it.
I think I'm going to use this only because I feel this is what it is. That type of laziness in learning is going to always be present.
Yes.
Right. 100%.
Well, I'm.
But I also think, you know, if you're not going to take the time to either read a book or do the research or what have you. You shouldn't be using something that's going to be so destructive, as far as the effect it has on
I think that's a great point
on the planet, right?
Yes.
Because you're also cheating another person from that position from either looking up the information for you, trying to help you, trying to teach you. You know, I mean, and famously, everyone is aware of Cliff's Notes,
yes,
right? Which
good friend of mine in high school,
Clifford.
Oh, he was amazing.
You know, and yeah, it's still a kind of paraphrased version of what
absolutely.
you would have been intended.
You're not getting the experience,
right? You're getting a rehashed, cut down version of what you're going to supposed to be reading. Or
it's somebody giving you a preview of a movie. I want to see the movie.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
Right?
Well, you should want to.
And to take it to another medium, when people, and I know a lot of people who have done this, and I've done this in the past myself, if I've liked a writer and I wanted to write something, what I would do is I would just retype that other writer's work.
I got you.
Word for word.
I got you.
So that I can get the beats down, I can get their word usage down, their you know.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's something that even comic book artists have done. They trace over stuff, and then eventually they just start seeing it.
Well, you've told me you kind of do this early on with music, right? It was like learning how to play those songs kind of inspired you not only to learn the instrument, but also go, well, what if I did this? Oh, hey, that's totally different than their song, and now maybe it's my song.
Exactly. So. Yeah. You know, and I know musicians across the world do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, where they learn the song, cover it so much, learn the entire catalog of the musician, and then like, okay, well, not only can I play that, but I can play it in that style.
Sure. Right? Yeah. Great point.
So. And then we famously, I know we do this in the shower, not together, you know, but we sing along. We sing along to our favorite songs.
Yeah.
You know, and whether we want to be creative or not, we're still doing it. We are still putting in the effort, right?
Okay.
But if it's something that's completely made up, and it's telling you there was no person behind this, and I know because I know exactly what you like. To the degree that you like it, so I know you're gonna like this.
Yeah.
And there's no human thought, no human emotion behind it.
Right. I'm with you 100%. Right? And interesting as you say that. Oh, I know what you like, so you like. Well, you'd be surprised how many times people go, "I know what you like," and they give me the exact same thing, and I go, "Yeah, I don't like that."
Right. Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
And more times than not, certainly I will speak to music. I think some of the bands that have stuck with me the longest are bands that initially I didn't particularly like.
Okay.
Or didn't understand right away.
Yeah.
Neurosis is a big one for me, where the first time hearing it was like, I kind of get it, but I don't really. And then one day it just went click, and I went, oh my God.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's just like, if someone had, by the way, you're only catching me in that moment. If you had caught Aaron 16, here, this is what you like, you're only going to like this. Like, you know what I mean? I would have never kept giving it a chance as I got older. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a weird, because it is interesting how many times suggestions of, well, if you like, the Amazon model, if you enjoyed this, you may also enjoy, can be way off sometimes.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of, this is the famous algorithm that we now hear of.
Right.
YouTube uses it, Netflix, Amazon, all these big platforms, they use it. And you're right. A lot of the stuff that they suggest isn't necessary. It's in the line of what I would like, but it's not exactly it.
Well, it depends on what I'm using. Like, we have famously, I don't know how we do have 10 whole episodes under our belt, so we are famous now. But, we've talked about it where it's like Spotify, sometimes it's like, it depends on the music you're listening to.
Right.
If you say I'm listening to Emperor, they're like, oh, well, then you will also enjoy Dark Throne, Mayhem. Wait, not necessarily. Oh, okay. You're just going second wave of black metal. You're not really digging deep. Right. Whereas maybe with something more popular, they would dig deeper. Sure. Where YouTube is weird is this part where you go, oh, that's the second video I've watched of police car chases, and now my entire thing is nothing but police car chases.
Yes.
And you're just like, Jesus, YouTube, I just wanted to watch 2 of these, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a weird...
It's all or nothing sometimes.
Yeah, which also feels very, like, I thought... Isn't variety the spice of life?
Yep.
Yeah. These are the things with the AI where I definitely, because I go, what if I used, like, for instance, let's go another thing we both very much love, movies.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. There's no movie out there right now that isn't using some sort of special effect that's most likely, to some degree, tied into AI.
Sure.
Right? You and I were... you certainly from the comic book area. I'm just more of the movie guy. We love our superhero movies.
Sure. Yeah.
You're not going to get half of those without some sort of computer-generated AI, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But again, it is a rendering of someone's idea, hopefully not. They just go, give me a green monster with 6 legs, and it just comes up with it. You're hoping, certainly as somebody like a Guillermo del Toro, it's like, oh no, this is all in my head. And I'm going to do a quick sketch, and this is what you're going to make.
See, that's I think, a really good comparison there. Del Toro has the ideas, and he loves the practicality of being tactile.
He definitely does.
Right?
No doubt. But he has he has movies where he's clearly, this is computer generated.
Of course. But again, it's supplemental.
Yes.
Right? It's just to kind of...
Well, bring to fruition. I'm sorry, I can't practically build a 6-story flower that attacks Hellboy. You know what I mean? So it's easier to put it in a green screen.
And even then, I understand the computer-generated images where you're going to use computer graphics to kind of create the thing that cannot be created.
Absolutely.
Right? But then even then, that's a difference between the AI where you just use a prompt and it gives you the thing, and... Nobody else had a hand in this. There was no computer graphic designer.
And
right?
this is what I assumed. That's why I'm asking this, because you're right. When we talk about the assisting part, right?
Yeah.
We love bands that went, I can't afford a fucking string orchestra, so I have a keyboard that makes it sound like that.
Right.
Was that cheating? Is that, come on, man. No. That's assisting. There's a lot of difference. I do hear where somebody might try to be like, whoa, come on, man. Those aren't real violins. And I hear that. You do have people, hip hop isn't real music or, on and on. But, I think the difference is it's still being created.
It's still being created. There's somebody still playing the keyboard.
There it is.
Right? There's still someone behind it saying like, well, what if I hit this note instead of that one? And it creates this big music swell.
Absolutely.
And it's not just something that's been basically told what to do, the generative stuff.
Right.
And it says, because of those beats, this is what you get.
Well, even beyond that, I think about like stuff like I remember seeing Bowie interviewed and talking about the first synthesizer he got. Him and Brian Eno, they took the instruction booklet and threw it in the trash.
Right.
I'm not interested in what some computer guy wants to make a horn sound like. I want to put things in the wrong spot and make weird noises.
Whatever they came up with after that, you don't get that without them doing that. Right. You don't get that. You don't get.
It's the mistakes. That's what he would even call it. I think that's what he called it. It's the mistakes. That's what I wanted to use on my record.
Yeah,
I didn't want to use. Yeah. I could find a guy who plays a French horn.
And speaking of Brian Eno, he's another person who I think recently used AI in some of his one of his albums, which kind of like
considering the guy who I understand he loves technology and I love his early weird.
Yeah.
You and I both are fans of ambient music.
Yes, yeah.
And he's kind of the godfather of that.
Yep.
So that's
It's a little disappointing. For me, it is. For me,
yeah,
it's
it
disappointing.
is. It is.
Because why would an artist in one field cheat an artist in another
There
field?
it is. I think that's, and I know you and I have talked about this before, like the Deicide cover. Like,
yes.
I understand the music business right now is very difficult and money in general. And Deicide obviously comes from an older school of how money is made. So I imagine nowadays cutting corners in any way to keep bills coming in so Glenn doesn't have to get a real job because I don't know where you're going to work with that thing on your fucking forehead, But
probably Home Depot.
Probably. I can show you how to make a cross.
Plumbing's that way.
I got 3 nails.
Yeah.
But it's just like you're absolutely correct. You go like, well, I understand I get the part where it's like it's a money game, and anywhere we can cut costs, we try to do so that we have the most that goes back into our pockets. I have no problem with that. But the part you cheated was an artist, much like yourself.
Well, and here's the
That's
thing, too.
the upsetting.
Here's the thing. Deicide, a band of that stature, can literally put out any message on any of their social media and say, hey, we need an artist, and here's our budget.
Great point.
Who can we work with?
Yeah, who would?
And I'm sure they'd
the exposure alone.
Well, they'd have people tripping over
that's what I'm
themselves
saying.
to get to work with fucking Deicide.
There are people who would just go, you don't even have to pay me. Just put my fucking name in the
I'm sure
booklet and we're
There will
good.
be at one point people who would say that to them. But I'm also sure that even people who are more established even would be like, okay, well, if 800 is your budget, I'll do something for you.
Well,
guys for 800,
look,
right?
let's be honest. We did an episode about Morbid Angels Art of the Madness, the guy who did that, Seagrave.
Seagrave,
I don't know how much he got paid for his early work, but I promise you it wasn't as much as he got paid for his latter.
Exactly.
So I imagine, again, you might do it for free just so that people go, holy crap, I want a cover that looks like that.
Right.
Good. Now I can name a price.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And I'm with you. I think you said it. The artist stealing from another artist. That's the real, feel like the stab in the heart. Like you just go, dude, of all the people that would understand this, it feels like it would be you.
Yeah, because I know. Who's the other big band? Pestilence.
Oh, did they
recently used AI, and people clowned it because it's not done well. Mm-hmm. But I think they are also forgetting Pestilence is another well-known band that could have said, "Hey, for our fan base, we need a cover artist."
Now, how do you feel about the High on Fire? I mean, again, a band we both very much love.
Yeah.
Doing a music video, because I understand music videos are a lot more expensive.
Music videos are a lot more expensive, but that's the same thing. They're a band of a stature where they could be like, "Hey, we need a video done on the cheap.
Yeah.
We have a budget. Who can we work with?"
Yeah.
Right.
And by the way, where are you playing it anyway?
Exactly. Right.
I mean,
there is I forget this person's name. He was something like the Black Moth, something on Facebook, but he did really great teaser videos for bands.
Okay, cool.
Right? As far as I know, a lot of that was not AI. And might have been computer-generated images.
Sure.
But, again, it was supplemental to what the band's...
I got you.
Like the visuals that the band was already putting out.
Right on.
So... I wouldn't consider it necessarily AI as far as the stuff that I remember.
I understand.
But there are so many different visual artists out there.
Yeah.
That High on Fire could have been like, hey guys, this is the theme we want for our video.
Yeah.
Who can we work with?
I
just put it out that way. And this is our budget. Who can we work with?
Do you think some of it may be, as in all new toys, maybe there's just people that want to play with it?
Yes, but I think,
you know what I mean?
But this also leads me back to the point that I said. If you're going to play with something, know the results of playing with it.
I hear you.
Right? Whether it's cheating and stealing from other artists, or just the real world ramifications of like, wow, our natural resources are being sucked up like crazy.
Right.
So even if I put in, and you'll excuse me, Danzig ice skating,
right,
it's going to take up
Hey, don't
water.
steal my idea, man. No, but sorry.
It'll take up water resources, which we could have used that for something else, or we could have used that energy that it's sucking up for, maybe 30 days to power the city or something,
Anything other than Danzig ice skating, I assure you.
Yeah,
as wonderful as that picture looks, and I will show. I'd be happy to show it to anyone. It wasn't worth it if it means somebody's not getting water. Yes.
And there are so many people, even still now, that are trying to make a living or just get their name across, whether it's a visual artist, a computer graphics artist. I saw a figure on the internet, where it said something like over 60% of digital artists are using AI, and this is digital artists, whether it's art or music or anything of the sort, right? Wow. That's a lot. Yeah. That is a lot.
Yeah.
And it's kind of terrifying that it's that many, and maybe somebody out there can let me know about this. Maybe there's already software that can detect the use of AI. I know it's a thing in like colleges where like if you turn in a paper, they'll feed it into a system and it'll tell you,
yes,
this is AI, right?
Yes. My wife actually has a friend who teaches, I believe, early high school, maybe junior high.
Yeah.
And they were just talking about this a couple days ago, she said. And she says, yeah, it's getting harder and harder. Now, she teaches, I believe, in Missouri, so I don't think they have electricity yet. But no, I know that she said that I don't think she's using any kind of computer generated. I really don't know.
Right.
I should say. But she says, yeah, it's harder and harder. She's seeing these papers and you're like, how the hell do I know if this kid wrote this or not?
Yeah, I mean, we have a mutual friend who's a professor at one of the bigger universities here who has told me that this types of software is being used there. Whereas before, there was a software that would let you know if the same person is writing all of the reports being printed.
Wow.
Which is good. It's
Yeah,
good, right?
well,
because
with
you want the students
Sure.
to do their work
Yes.
and whatnot, right? And
especially when
sometimes-
you start getting into things like I'm getting a degree in something.
Exactly.
Like, sorry, Mr. Brain Surgeon, I'm going to need you to do that report.
Yes, I definitely.
Because there's no AI that's going to do the actual brain surgery when we get to it.
So
Although,
it's funny that you mentioned the one about the cutting the lathe and whatnot and the measuring, because there is I don't know if this is a proposal, but somebody was talking about the use of AI when it comes to taking like X-rays, right? Which
is
on
that
the surface,
because of exposure to?
I just think it was to speed up the process.
Okay.
Right, which that on the
Unfortunately,
surface makes
yeah.
sense, but it also takes the X-ray technicians out of work.
Well, speed, let's be honest, speed and proficiency will always trump any human getting paid for shit, right?
Of course.
Every corporation wants it faster and quicker.
And unfortunately, because of the human factor, I'm a person who unfortunately has to get a lot of X-rays done, just because whatever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no.
But sometimes these locations don't make it easy for you to get X-rayed
Oh, yes.
and get sent on your way, right?
Yes,
There's
yes,
a lot
yes,
of
yes.
waiting. There's
Oh,
cancellations
yes.
and stuff. So here's a field, I think, where the supplemental use, the assistive AI could come in handy if that tech was able to kind of use the AI and say, all right, we need X-rays of this, bing, bang, boom, you're on your way. Let's get the next person.
Yeah.
Instead of nobody being there.
Well, how about the fear part for some people, right? Doctors in general, like MRIs, that's the one where they put you in the big tunnel,
Yep,
right?
yep.
I mean, you always see, at least in shows, the joke is that people get claustrophobic, and
Sure.
that there's a guy on a microphone, he's talking to you, trying to keep you calm, everything. The human element, especially in doctors, like, why would we ever want to take that out? At least when it comes to the person to person, right? Maybe I'm scared of this X-ray. Maybe I don't know what, especially a child or something like that. You're putting this heavy vest on me. I don't know what's going on. You need that person there to be able to reassure and say, hey, it'll be okay. As opposed to, but you're right, with the supplemental part, look, if the X-ray is more accurate, because you can use AI. Well, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
But if it's still just the person putting it in a position and then it makes AI uses a slight adjustment, cool.
Right, yeah.
I mean, and I will say, and I don't mean to, this is going to sound, I'm going to say it in a way that's going to sound shitty, but I don't mean it this way. I just want to be succinct in what I'm saying. The part where we're doing but what about humans losing jobs? Look, that's always going to happen. At some point,
Sure.
If you want to keep making horseshoes, you go right ahead. I'm going to go over to the Ford company here and start learning how to make cars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, we know there's still people that make horseshoes, just a whole shitload less of them, And I think those are always going to come. When computers came in, there were definitely people who lost jobs because of it.
yeah.
And that's going to happen. If it's certainly about progress, I understand. But when it's literally, and let's be honest, and I know this is what you're ultimately talking about. I just wanted to put that out there just in case. Is to say, we both know corporations don't give a shit about the people that are working there.
Right.
If they could get a fucking monkey to do your job and pay him in bananas, and it was cheaper than your health care, they'd do it in a fucking heartbeat.
Of course.
So if AI can come in and do this faster and quicker, it's not like, by the way, their safety part, they don't give a shit about that either, except for the fact they're on the hook for it.
Right.
So it's just about faster and it's about quicker and making more money. And if they can eliminate the human being, I mean, whether, not to get all political, but just say, whether it's shipping our jobs overseas to people who will do it cheaper and don't have as many regulations as this country does, or putting a robot in place of me because he doesn't take breaks and he doesn't need health care, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And the AI part of that is definitely going to, for some things, probably streamline a lot quicker where people are going to be out of jobs.
There was this, I forget exactly when it was being said, but at one point, folks were telling folks who were kind of, complaining that their jobs were going to get replaced. They were telling them, learn to code. And this became like a big thing, right?
Sure.
Because I understand like technological progress and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
this. But I, as well as many others out there, saw this as an incredibly shitty. And I'm not saying this is what you're saying.
No.
But,
I know exactly what you're saying. Go for it.
I think saying something like this is like, well, you are telling a person who maybe doesn't have the means to learn
Yep.
how to change with the times.
I don't disagree.
At the speed that they might need to.
Right.
Right.
By the way, I'm 55 years old. You want me
Right.
to start coding so that I can start a job all over again at $12 an hour?
Yes, exactly. Right. So,
I mean, that speaks more maybe to an overall safety net that this country could do a lot better to help people
Of
and so on and
course,
so forth.
of course.
Like, you're saying this, and I hear, where this is actually something I've seen a lot of stories on. As we are getting more and more into vehicles being able to drive themselves,
There you go.
the number one place they're trying to do this is in truck driving.
yeah.
Now, far be it from me to take the side of that little prick. I can't think of his name now. The one that wore the bow tie was on Fox all the time. They finally kicked that racist fuck off. Anyway.
Tucker Carlson.
Yes,
Yeah.
that piece of shit. But I did see, even a broken clock is right twice a day. I did see him say a thing where it's like, look, if we're talking about safety and because these things will drive safer, we can get our stuff to and from quicker because they don't need to take a nap. They don't need to be on the road only allowed to drive for so many hours and so on. I'm all for that. But if we're also about to put 60,000 young men and women out of a job, I don't know that I want to sign up for that.
Yeah.
And there is something to be said for that. Now, I would like to think, well, the beauty is what we're going to do is slowly put them into other jobs because as we get to renewable resources and renewable energy, they will learn to make windmills. They will learn to make solar panels and so on and so forth. That's, a functioning country would probably do stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah.
We're not there quite yet. So I do think, to your point, there is always going to be progress. There's always going to be technology that will just replace your job, and there's nothing you or I can ever do about it.
Of course.
But we cannot just tell them tough shit because I want to make the shareholders happier with their stocks go up so I can make more money.
Right.
That's not where I'm at. And I certainly, to kind of bring it back around to things that you and I are very much into, I certainly do not want to see it in my arts. I am not interested in watching a robot play a cello. I want to see Yo-Yo Ma.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not interested in
Or Yo-Yo Pa.
Yeah. And I'm not interested in you telling an AI-generated thing, write me a death metal song about peanut butter and jelly, and it does it.
Now that you're touching on this, there was I guess a doom metal band,
right,
that was put out there into the wild, and people started enjoying this band. And I should have gotten the name of the band, but it was a doom metal band that started getting some traction, some attention.
Interesting.
And when I listened to it, by all intents and purposes, it's doom metal. It's everything that I know about the genre, but it just sounded very stale, right?
Paint by numbers, kind of.
Exactly. Paint by numbers.
Like if you were going to do your first doom band, like these are the things you'll do.
The things, yeah.
Right.
Like those costumes. Like, hey, here's the hipster costume. Here's all the things you need to be a hipster, right?
Right.
So it was like that, where I listened to it and I'm like, okay, that's the slower guitars, the big bombastic drums.
I hear a tritone.
The fuzzy I hear tritones. You're singing about spooky stuff.
Right.
Okay, cool. And it's in a way that I enjoy. All right, but why do I not like this? Well, Turns out completely AI.
Right.
Everything. Nobody was real in the band. Not even the
Interesting.
vocalist.
Interesting.
And turns out that the group behind this band had to then come out and, reveal like, hey, we did this as a test to see how far we can get. And now we have to come clean because this fake band that everyone's enjoying
Right.
is getting popular. And people are saying like, hey, why can't we get a live show?
Wow.
Because we want to see this live,
Now, when you say, and I don't need exact figures. I just when you say popular, I mean, well, I guess you kind of said is if you got people asking for it live.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
wow, that's more than I got 5 views on YouTube or 20
way
downloads.
more than that because it was also like starting to chart as far as the doom metal blogs and websites that keep track of all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
It was starting to track on those websites, right?
Wow.
Whereas that spot could have been filled by an actual band with actual people.
Absolutely.
Right? It takes away from the attention that other people could have gotten.
Yeah.
Now, famously, Spotify uses AI to kind of scour their databases, and they also create bands, that create music similar to what they're scouring, right? Or using the data sets, much like the picture AI
Sure.
the written AI.
Yeah.
And they create their own bands and then push these bands onto playlists so that more and more people are aware of this fake music being put out there. And now actual bands with real people who are struggling to get the plays, therefore not getting paid as much by Spotify or other platforms, not just Spotify, they don't have a chance because these fake bands are being promoted first and foremost.
What I find,
right,
that's the number one thing that you're taking away from people who are actually making the art.
Away,
that
right?
pisses me off.
You're stealing from artists,
Yeah.
right? You're stealing the expression of human emotion.
Which is shocking to hear that Spotify is stealing from artists. Good thing
that's-
I'm sitting down.
I know we are being platformed by
I am too. Listen, I use Spotify. I can't sit here
yeah.
and say, but yes, if it were me running Spotify, I might change a few things. Let's
Sure,
put it
sure,
that way.
yeah. So
Like making our podcast number 1.
with no AI. But yeah, and then films. We mentioned that a lot.
Well, real quick, I just
Yeah,
want to make this point to the music that you're saying.
Sure.
I also find it interesting that doom in and of itself, let's be honest, very niche genre, even within heavy metal, which is already a niche genre.
Yes.
It's interesting to me. I would love to know the people who were, for lack of a better word, fooled by it. Mainly because here is a genre that is very niche. So the people who listen to it, let's be honest, you're probably pretty deep in it. You're soaking
You're
in
aware of what
doom
you like
sound,
and what it's about, and all that.
yet you were fooled. You liked it. You genuinely. Let's put it this way: if you're into that for the most part, you did what everyone should do. You just let your ears do the listening.
Right.
And if you like it, you like it. You didn't care about the rest of it.
Right.
And yet you got fooled by it.
Yeah.
And that's some scary shit.
Well, you know how in the past, I'm gonna make this is gonna be kind of
Please go.
lengthy.
It's a podcast. Go for it.
We had our kind of base genres where like this is metal, this is punk, whatever, right? And we always would think like, well, what if I added, a horror flavor to punk, and then
Absolutely.
we get horror punk,
Yes.
right? And then we get, well, what if I added thrash to the heavy metal, and it became thrash metal,
Or
right?
if I add jazz to death metal, yeah.
And then you get,
Fucking atheists and
Atheists.
all those guys. Yeah. Well, but I mean, but that's, yes.
but it's also the people doing it, right?
Absolutely.
So now you can prompt into whatever generator. I want bodybuilding death metal being sung by Japanese girls, right? And there's because this is a real thing. This is a genre on Spotify that you can find now, and none of it's real. None of it's real. But wouldn't you want somebody real saying like, yeah, I'm a girl from Japan.
I hear you.
I'm into bodybuilding.
Sure.
And not just that, but I'm also into making the most fucking brutal death metal ever. And here it is. Right. Instead of a machine, right? Instead of a prompt.
I
Right.
don't care what it is as long as it's human.
Yeah, of course, right? And
Even music I don't like, it's still made by human beings.
ultimately, I think that's what we want. But, because there's such a looming threat of this being pushed to the forefront now.
Yeah,
Right? More so than ever, right?
Well, and you said this already, the laziness of it.
It's laziness.
I just don't, I literally saw a guy, I swear to God, I wanted to fucking jump through the screen and strangle him, What this guy, some douchey 20-something-year-old tech fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, man. It takes a long time to learn how to play a guitar. Who's got that kind of
right.
time?
Yeah, yeah.
And who wants to do? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, fuck you, man. How long did it take you to become a tech guy?
Yeah.
Like, and by the way, is this not like the cool part of rock and roll?
Yeah.
Is the kid in his room when he finally he or she discovers how to play Smoke on the Water and realizes, holy fuck, this is what I want to do with my life. Like, to take that away from somebody,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to take that away. I want someone to look at art and go, well, I do like Picasso, but what if he did something different? I don't, or reject, but fuck that. That's garbage. I want to do something else. Like, that's what I want, dude.
I forget what the actual number is, but there was a saying that, you know, practice something either like 10,000 hours and you become proficient. You know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I've always enjoyed that because when I apply it to myself, you know, I've been trying to play bass ever since I was 13 years old, right? I'm in my late 40s now. I don't think I'm necessarily the bassist I should be, but I'm pretty all right with it, you know? I wouldn't call myself a pro. I'm still learning. But part of that fucking entire process, those 30 plus years, it's been fun learning new things.
Okay.
You know?
Thank you.
It's been incredibly fun.
Yeah.
It's satisfying when
There's
I
the
can get
word.
something.
That's
right?
the word I was hoping you would say. You're right. Satisfying.
Yeah, and I think it shows because when I learn something new, I'm going to want to show people. I'm going to want to show people like, hey, here's me fucking up this technique, right? But I haven't never done this before, and now it's something new in my toolbox, as it were, right? And it's not a fucking machine that did it perfectly every single fucking time.
Well, how about sense of accomplishment?
Sense of accomplishment.
Is that another right? Like, it's got to feel good when you figured out that bass part and you can play
Yes.
it, or you wrote that song because that's what you know. Like, everybody, if you just knew it, you wouldn't have that much of an accomplishment, right?
Right.
It's the learning and seeing here's where I started and here's where I'm at.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is the whole point of learning anything.
The trip, right?
Yes. It has to
It's
be
not
the
the
journey.
destination, it's the journey,
Yes,
right?
or whatever my fortune cookie told me. But, you know, yes. That's it, right? That's totally it. Like, you would not, I know you well enough to know, you would not trade for a heartbeat if someone came to 12-year-old Nick and said, here, I'm going to snap my fingers and you're going to become the greatest bass player that's ever played.
Which is a scene in The Matrix.
No, right.
Right?
Well,
Like,
I would like to learn kung fu. I'd be lying. I would definitely do. But you know what I mean. But yeah, no. There is. But even if I did the thing in the Matrix, there's no sense of accomplishment.
Right,
I just
right.
downloaded it.
You just download it.
That's
right,
it. Like,
right.
by the way, I don't go around and go, hey, did you hear the new Sumerian that I did? You did. Well, I bought the CD. Like, no, that's no accomplishment on my part.
Right.
I didn't accomplish shit. You know,
Yeah,
my friends accomplished it who made the record. That's what it, you know, and then tangibly made a record. You guys went into a studio. I did my drum part. I did my bass part. I did my guitar part. Now we put it together. Boom.
Even before that, there's 3 of us
Oh,
in that band.
right.
You get the 3 of us together.
Yes.
You put the song through the filter of each of our their sets of our ears.
Absolutely.
We used our skill set to play whatever we could. We practiced it for months on end until
And
we're all
filtered
satisfied.
it, like you said, filtered it also in the part of like, well, I like that, but what if we did this? And what if we did,
Right,
okay,
right.
you know what? That's not working. Let's go back to that and try this. Like, how many, sometimes it's almost neater to see the iterations of songs that came before the one you knew.
Yes.
Because you go, oh, wow. You know?
It is a lengthy process, but again,
Yes.
it's so satisfying
Oh, it's
when at
gotta
the
be.
end of that trip,
It's
you
gotta
sit
be.
down and record it, and it's the song you hear at the end.
I
right?
can only imagine. I just, that's got to be so cool.
Yeah,
to do.
I imagine, you know, for I was gonna go to this earlier with the movies.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I know Disney. I always forget the name of the tool that Disney uses. The sound or something like this. It's like basically a big ball where they just plug in the environment that they want to be in. And the whole room is a screen.
Oh, they use it with the Mandalorian and all.
the
Yes,
Mandal-
yes.
right? So, okay, I get it. They don't maybe want to spend the money to travel to Africa,
Right.
to whatever, but they've also filmed so many times in the desert out here in Southern California. So
Right.
why that should be any different, I don't know. But
cheaper. Let's be honest. That's what
of
it is.
course, it's cheaper. They can do things a lot quicker.
And nobody's sweating out in the desert in 100 degree
But they
heat.
also suffered. The quality of the recording suffers because at one point, and I'm going off of what people tell me when they see these things. You see the plasticity of the location. That it doesn't look genuine. It looks boxy, confined. And I mean, we got this with. And this isn't necessarily AI, but with those first 3 Star Wars...
Oh, the prequels, where it's all green screen.
It's all green screen,
Yeah.
right? Okay, but somebody still had to sit at a computer and come up with those computer
No doubt.
Graphics, right?
Yeah.
But when you take away that one person who designed those computer graphics and it's just a computer and the sound or whatever,
Right.
that's
What makes Star Wars is George Lucas's imagination. It has nothing to do with the green screen.
Exactly
It's
right.
not the green screen. It's not even what they project on the film.
Right.
It had to be in his head first.
Yes.
And if it wasn't there, there'd be nothing to put on the screen.
100%.
Period. End of story.
Right.
And allowing a computer to just go, well, what did George Lucas do? All right, well, he's Darth Schmader. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, no, I don't want to see that.
Yes. Right.
You
Totally,
know?
yeah.
And by the way, like, and with the band thing too, it's like, yeah, I love Black Sabbath. I don't want to listen to 18 iterations of Black Sabbath. I want to listen to your take on Black Sabbath. It's
take on
different.
Black Sabbath, right? The way you hear it, I want to hear that.
Right, through your filter.
I don't want to hear a literal Black Sabbath clone.
Exactly.
Right. I know in some more recent movies, Emilia Perez had some AI kind of fine tuning some of the I think music and some of the scenes in it.
Brutalist was the other one.
Brutalist, which best performance.
He won Best Actor.
Best actor. Okay. So I don't think that's necessarily fair because while
It adjusted his accent,
they
right?
adjusted his accent,
Right.
which here's a whole other
weird.
discussion. If you're going to credit an actor for his acting, let it be his acting and acting attempts.
You're doing this. Let's be honest. The Brutalist is not. It's not going to make $200 million, right?
Sure.
This is a small indie film.
Sure.
If the worst thing anyone can do is walk away and go, man, Adrian Brody's Hungarian accent, not very good.
Right,
Like,
right.
So what, dude? Schwarzenegger's making an entire career, and I love Schwarzenegger, we both do, with playing people where you're like, why does he have an Austrian accent?
Yeah.
Why does Sean Connery play a Russian with a fucking British accent?
Yes.
Nobody cares.
Yes,
Like,
right.
they're not going to care that much. And more importantly, you couldn't get this guy a dialect coach?
Like, well, you kind of go into movies, whether it's fiction or non-fiction movie, with some suspension of disbelief.
Okay, that's the number one. Thank you
Right?
very much. If Kevin Costner can be Robin Hood with that horrible fucking British accent,
Dude, if
and
Keanu
Dick Van Dyke,
Reeves-
Dick Van Dyke, who we all love,
Oh, yeah,
and Mary
yeah.
Poppins, my God,
Yeah.
he nearly set Britain back like 20 years with that accent. I mean, again, it's like we may notice it, like you're saying, with Keanu Reeves, absolutely, in Bram Stoker's.
Bram
Like,
Stoker's
yes,
Dracula.
I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't come across.
But see, that becomes part of like the trivia and like the little stuff that sticks out
Great
that we then
point.
carry out into the
Yes.
future, right? Because at this point now, like we make light of it, and it's like, well, remember Keanu Reeves' accent and how he drops it after the second sentence in Dracula? Yeah, but it's still a fun movie. It's the horniest Dracula movie,
Yes.
except whatever, right?
Yes. I just can't imagine people watch The Brutalist. I have not seen it yet. I'm actually looking forward to it. I think it's a really great story.
Sure.
It looks amazing. I can't imagine I would have walked away from that going like, I was really thrown by that horrible Hungarian accent. I just can't imagine. So why do it? Now, clearly they were upfront about it because everybody knows they did it.
Yeah.
But you're just like, so why do it then?
Yeah, well, and if there are Hungarian people out there who watch that movie and say, wow, that accent, top notch, right? Like it was so genuine. Okay, I'll understand that perspective, but is that worth the use of AI and
Right.
taking and basically taking what we are recognizing as an award for performance and saying, well, that doesn't matter because we'll have a computer fix it.
Yeah,
Right?
there is that part of the kind of a side argument there is that the enhancement, right? Okay. If you're going to play Wolverine at 47 years old or 52 years old and you look better than you did when you were 30,
Yeah.
you're clearly doing something.
Of course.
It may not be called steroid, but it's clearly called something. Okay.
Steroids.
Yeah. I mean, Hugh Jackman is Jackman. And, you know what I'm saying? So that's an enhancement to his performance.
Of course.
You
of
could
course.
say. And again, I'm with you. It's weird that hearing that, mainly because I think Adrian Brody is a good actor. That story looks very good, and it looks like a really good movie made by good people. So to add that, well, sadly, as you said, as we talk about Keanu Reeves' accent being a thing of that movie, now we're all going to talk about, oh, that's the one where they did the AI on his accent, right?
We're going to forego
and
the
kind
story.
of take away from what could be a great movie.
Exactly.
I don't know that it, let's be honest, if his entire performance hinges on his Hungarian accent, then that must have been a horrible performance in general.
It's a horrible story, too.
It
if
has to
that's
be.
what you needed.
If that's what you needed.
If
But
that's the
clearly
focal
it
point.
didn't.
Right,
So
right.
why did you do it? I just
Exactly, right?
It seems strange. It really, really does.
There was also, I forget it was a horror movie that used AI, and they were pretty upfront as well, because I think they got nominated or they won a certain category.
Okay.
Where they used AI to draw images, almost like if it was like a Tonight Show type of deal.
Okay.
Like we'll be back after this commercial
gotcha.
break or something like
Okay.
that, right? And they used AI basically to create those images,
Okay.
and they used them, and it wasn't long on screen,
All right.
but they were pretty upfront. Like the makers of that movie,
I gotcha.
particular movie were
Yeah.
pretty upfront about it. And people were pissed, which I understand being the pissed part, because you could have easily gotten some
All these people you hired to do the movie, you couldn't hire one more person?
100% this, right? 100%. You
I
can't.
mean, especially for something on the screen that's there for 2 seconds.
for 2 seconds, you can get a student taking computer graphics classes.
Right.
They can crank something out in a day, right?
Yeah.
And plus, now their name is attached to the movie.
Yeah.
They get credit. Maybe they get some sort of notoriety, and they get used again in the future.
And again, I mean, I don't know. Maybe literally that was the last thing on the budget and they ran out of money. I guess it's possible. But
Sure.
other than that, gee, it does feel a little like, I don't see why you couldn't have done it.
It's just the laziness thing, right?
Well, and again, with new technologies comes laziness. Let's be honest. I mean, look, as great as a microwave is, and God knows you and I use the hell out of one, I'm sure. Let's be honest. Back in the day, we would have just had to warm it up on a skillet
oven.
or put it in the oven, right?
yeah.
And now we go, oh, I don't have time for that. You know, I think the other thing, on a larger scale, is how many times have we thought, oh, well, now that this is here, our lives are going to become so much easier, and it's actually done the opposite.
yes, yeah.
You know, in some ways it has, but in other ways it has not. You know, I also, going back to one of the points I made at the beginning is, let's be honest, most of this is going to have to do with who's in control, what are we using it for? God knows the internet is a hellscape in many, many ways. Certainly with social medias,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Myself, I am a late adopter of Twitter. That's right. Fuck you, Elon. And for me, it is not a hellscape, but it's because of the people I follow.
Right.
I purposely stay away from certain things that I know would upset me, or just politics that I just don't, I want to escape from that. So I don't use that for Twitter.
Yeah.
So while I hear what people say about that certain social media thing, I'm not experiencing it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Just means I'm not experiencing it because I have formed mine to not be that.
I also think that.
But how much of that power may get taken away from all of us?
Well, I also think that type of use isn't across the board.
Yes.
How people use
Oh,
it,
absolutely.
right?
Of course. I think, to me, and again, it may sound like shitty, but I think a majority of people who go, oh my God, these social medias are hellscapes, I think they're doing it to themselves in a lot of way. Don't get me wrong, a lot of shit gets pushed on us too.
Sure.
It's like, I don't know how many times I see shit, even on Twitter, where I'm like, I do not subscribe to fucking Elon. Why am I reading this?
Right.
You know?
Well, I mean, it's funny you say this with like Twitter, because even on Instagram,
Yeah.
something that they announced was that they were going to have AI generated profiles who are going to just start interacting with real profiles.
Jesus
You know?
Christ.
And it's like,
For what? What does it do?
Right? What does it do? Exactly.
The whole point of, I thought, these social networks, or the idea, certainly I have been privy to this, is I meet new people.
Yeah,
Interesting
yeah.
people from across the world. You know, the idea of making the earth smaller. So it's like, oh, we are more alike than we are different. And maybe we should start caring for each other.
Yes,
different.
that's perfect.
But
point.
instead, it's like, well, 50% of my friends are fake, and the rest of them,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, right, yeah.
we're literally taking the meme of on the internet, no one knows you're a dog, to its fucking final level. For all I know, you really are a dog.
Yes, right, yeah. So you know, it's it's again taking the humanity out of these things
That's-
I guess, and I know Facebook was not intended to bring humanity to anything, but I think
No, not
where
even.
it started and
Yes.
what it ultimately
could have been.
what it could have been. Yes,
There
totally.
it is. The potential.
The potential of I'm not gonna say uniting, but
No.
making it easier to communicate with, as
Yes.
you mentioned, people from across the world, and saying like, oh man, they are into fucking ambient fucking drone
There
as
it
much
is.
as I am.
There it is, right?
Let's now we have this thing in common, and now if I ever travel that way, I know who to look for. You know.
Yes, and maybe even understand each other's cultures a little bit better.
Because we do- yeah.
I mean, bigger picture, and I know this is really like Pollyanna thinking, but I'm sorry, maybe that's just who I am sometimes, is you hope that it's like, wow, not only do we connect on this, now I see you as a human being. It's harder to bomb a human being, isn't it? Than a
There you
thing
go.
that exists
There
in a
you go.
country I never met. Now
know-
I know people from that, or I better understand their culture to go, oh, the shit they say on that other thing is totally wrong.
Totally
I know
wrong.
a guy
Yep.
who lives there. That doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
dude,
All those
I
things
used
that
to-
the potential the internet had, and again, I think they start this way, and then you bring in money that goes, all I'm interested in is the money.
Well, I think it's also with like
Please.
AI in particular, it's put out for general use with no guidebook.
Yeah.
No handbook.
They did the
of,
same
like,
with
hey,
the internet.
Same with the internet, right? And everybody calls the internet the wild, wild west.
Yes, certainly.
Okay, cool. Well, AI is
Mm-hmm.
that Pandora's box where it's gonna fucking take over a bunch of shit that you did not expect it to
Not-
take over,
Nor did you want.
nor did you want. Yeah. To your point, I used to know. I used to play this MMO.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because I'm such a fanatic of Conan. It was called Age of Conan. But everyone in the guild that I had was from a different part of the world. So
Very
I had
cool.
Australians, people in the Middle East, people
Sure.
in Japan, Europe, UK, and all this. And when we'd all get on microphone, it was just awesome hearing all these
Oh,
accents.
yeah, I can imagine.
Right? And I'm like, hey, man, where are you from?
Right,
'Cause
right.
and
Right.
it's something that I still do to this day. Hey, I hear an accent. Where are
Yeah.
you from? Because it's just cool. Just like, wow, our backgrounds are so fucking different.
Yes.
And we have the commonality of this game. What else do you like that I think I might like? Tell me about something that you enjoy, right?
Yes. And, I mean, that will never replace, and it's something you have repeated many times in here, it will never replace the humanity part.
Yeah.
The actual meeting of two people like you and I who come from very different backgrounds and yet connect on so many things that otherwise we should not.
Yes.
Now
yes.
that happens because we have met in person and we continue to meet in person.
Right.
Can
Yeah.
it be fostered online? Of course it can, but it
Sure.
will never replace the actual meeting of two human beings.
Well, it's
you know,
cool
and
too,
and the AI of taking humanity away from the art of being able to connect to a human being making a piece of art is nothing that we really want. I promise you, we do not want it.
it drives that division further. You know,
Yes.
because how many times, and I know this is something just, specific to you or I,
Mm-hmm.
how many times have we come across a band online
Mm.
or a piece of art or
Mm-hmm.
something, and we go to a show
Mm.
or a showing of art, and we happen to meet the person that we knew online.
Ugh.
And it's like, oh my God, it's you, right? And
Yeah.
then there's a tangible person. You get to shake a hand.
No doubt.
You get to hug a person. And now you potentially have another friend.
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
or even if you're not friends, just an acquaintance where you're like, hey, I know that guy. I've seen them around.
and then you
know?
feel a deeper connection too.
deeper connection.
You know, I just can't see that happening with a computer. No matter how sexy they make them.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. No, if it's Scarlett Johansson voice, right?
Talk about my hard drive.
But yeah, what do folks out there think about the use of AI? I know there are potential pros and potential cons that we
Like all
cons that
things.
we haven't
Yeah.
that we haven't come across here or
Certainly,
we haven't mentioned.
Please.
But let us know. Let us know what you folks think, if at all anything, if you're for it and why, against it and why. I know in Aaron and mine's kind of radius of friends that we know, there's a lot of creative types.
Yeah.
If any of them want to share their opinions with us, let us know. But what are you watching?
Interestingly enough, speaking of AI, watched a really good movie that I had been waiting to see for some time, and it came on HBO this weekend. Movie called Companion. I don't know if you've seen small little movie by the same, I think, producers. I don't know. Did Barbarian,
Okay.
which I liked. I think Barbarian's a little.
I think overrated.
Very. I think yes, not bad. It wasn't horrible. I just think when you do something different, and especially in the horror genre, I do understand when people kind of go, woohoo, you know what I mean? Although it's just like, yeah, but you're still competing against things like Midsummer and Heretic and The Witch. So, anyway, but this one was good. Speaking of AI, I don't think I'm giving anything away. It may feel like that, though I feel like if you watch even the previews, I think you get this sense. Trying to think how to talk about this without giving anything away.
Well, I mean, this is a spoiler.
It could be some spoilers, yes.
I mean,
well, I don't want to spoil
abound.
it for you either because I really think.
Oh no! I mean, with me,
okay.
I will say this now to whoever might be listening. If you ever recommend anything and you want to spoil it, please feel free. I am a fan of stories.
Okay.
So if I still get to experience the story, whether you've told me what it's about, I'm still gonna have to filter it through my brain that has had no holes or worms in it. So feel free. Not yet. Yeah.
But thanks to our new vaccines. No, anyway. Okay, so essentially, a guy is dating a girl who you find out is a robot.
Wow.
Yes.
Right.
They do not give the time of when this, but you get the sense it's somewhere in the near future. Clothing is still the same. They're driving Teslas, but the Teslas seem to drive themselves. So, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he takes her on vacation with his friends, and she is essentially sexually assaulted by a guy and kills him.
The
robot girlfriend.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And we go from there, kind of thing. Again, I don't want to give it. I just don't. It was fun to watch. About an hour, 35, 45 minutes. So you're kind of in, you're out. Really good.
Yeah.
I think the things that you especially, and anyone else who's a fan of these, will really love is there are, I wouldn't even say subtle. It was very cool. Nods to Terminator in it.
Oh, cool.
That are really
right.
cool. Yeah. Really, where you're like, oh, these, thank you. You love Terminator.
Yeah.
But really good movie. I think one of the things I loved about it, the girl who plays the robot is one of the girls from Heretic. And the guy who plays the boyfriend is Dennis Quaid's son that's on The Boys.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, which is really cool because his character certainly develops in it, but he's not kind of the gee golly gosh, somebody save me guy from The Boys. Though I love him in The Boys. The Boys is one of my favorite shows, and he's great in it. He's kind of a different character, so it's neat to see when they can kind of do that. Also has the guy from the vampire TV show, What We Do in the Shadows, Guillermo, the Mexican kid on that show.
Okay.
Yeah, he's great in it too. I love it. Really fun watch. I've been looking
right.
forward to that one. Another one I watched, I really enjoyed, and another one I've been waiting, The Order, which is named after the group that is in and became from the Turner Diaries. Based on a true story of these assholes that did this thing. Taken from essentially the perspective of the guy who's leading the order, but also the FBI agent, although he is an amalgamation, I read, of many different FBI agents that were going after this group.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. It was really good. Great performances. Jude Law plays the FBI agent. Nicholas, whatever his name is from Nosferatu and Fury Road.
Oh, Nicholas Hoult.
Thank you. He plays the head of the order, the white supremacist group.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Jesse Smollett's sister, the one that was in, she's really great in that Lovecraft Country. She plays a FBI agent in it too. Really great performances all the way around. It's shot really cool. It feels really gritty. How can I say this? Fuck it. I understand for movies we want to develop characters. We want to show motivation.
Sure.
It just feels like Hollywood hasn't quite figured out how to show. They never show him as a white supremacist necessarily as a good person. They try to show where his motivations for this came from, and it's like dad lost his job, and he was hurt, and he never fought for himself, and and you're like, listen, it's not about feeling sympathy. These people become these people for lots of reasons. Some are just born into it. Some are driven that way because of life takes a shit on them, and they blame anyone but themselves.
So just kind of understanding what the flip of the switch was.
Yeah, and I just feel like they didn't really explore that enough for me. Okay. There was an interesting thing because it's again this apparently these things really did happen. What's his name? The king of podcasting does it from his garage. The comedian.
Marin.
Marin, yes, the guy who will soon overtake. He plays a radio disc jockey who is obviously Jewish, much like himself, and goes on radio and talks shit about these people. And like, you're blaming things that have happened to you on others who had nothing to do with it because you don't, a government has turned against you. That was good. We needed that in the movie.
Sure.
I think the ultimate thing was like, if you didn't hate him for his racist views, the fact that he's robbing banks and so on and so forth, threatening people with violence, I guess you're supposed to hate him because he cheated on his wife with another woman and had a kid. And you're like, that's the one thing I'm willing to forgive.
Right.
You know what I mean? Especially if you find out the wife couldn't have kids, blah, blah, blah. Anyway. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, he wants to keep the line going, they're big on their lineage. Anyway, it's just one of those things where really well done in lots of ways. I did very much enjoy it. It's something I had been looking forward to seeing. I like Jude Law. It just looked really good. I'd been seeing the previews for a while. Cool. I would definitely recommend it. Good movie all the way around. Great performances all the way around. What's that?
The Order, it's called?
The Order, yeah. All Hulu, right now. Hulu.
All right.
Another one I'm watching, it's on HBO. I've only seen the first part. I am a huge documentary guy. I love documentaries. Yeah. I could watch them all day long to my wife's chagrin. But as I like to tell people, I have literally watched a documentary about documentaries. That's how much I love documentaries. One of the great ones that makes them now is a man named Alex Gibney. This is a guy, probably the biggest ones that most people might know is the Going Clear Scientology one. Smartest Men in the Room, the Enron one. This guy just... his politics align with mine for the most part, and I just love his documentaries. He recently did, I believe he's the one who recently did that Sopranos one that HBO put out.
Okay.
I just love his documentaries. Doing one about dark money. Essentially, Citizens United, how it completely fucked the little guy, where no more of this PAC. You can do these secret PAC bullshits, 501(c)(3)s or something like that. The first episode was just about the state of Ohio and how that completely got fucked by these people who were, they have no morals. They have no ethics. It's only about money. That's all they fucking care about. Yeah. And it shows. And it just shows the use of dark money and how that happens. And it was simultaneously informative and also this part where you go, oh, so we're fucked. We're fucked. Yeah. Okay, let me just put a bullet on my head. And, or even sometimes you feel when you watch those sometimes, or I do anyway, is almost like I want to just bury my head in the sand and just go, you know what, I'm just going to focus on family and friend, and there's nothing I can do about this shit. And it's just so frustrating. I applaud the FBI agents who went after these people. In the end, two of them, one went away for 5 years, another guy went away for 20 years. Wow. I mean, that's huge when you think about it. Politicians and so forth, but it's not heartwarming just because these people went to jail. Let me tell you, it's pretty much a bummer. Yeah. There's some wins in it. Don't get me wrong. There's some wins in it, but you realize the daunting task. He even interviewed the guy who... I love when shit like this. It's so, oh God, we're fucked. The guy who literally argued for Citizens United at the Supreme Court, even when he is kind of questioned, you see his brain go, yeah, maybe that wasn't the best thing in the world. Like speak about Pandora's box, right? Yeah, but I just, it's really cool, very interesting. And you go, okay, I'm certainly learning some stuff that, I understood what these things were and how they were destroying. But when you get the great examples and you see these backdoor deals made, and then the fact that these assholes do it in such a way where it's like, they talk about it as though like you and I are talking right now. Sure. About how they are thwarting government and democracy and like, fuck you, who gives a shit? What can they do about it? Yeah. That's how powerful they are. And nobody should have that kind of power.
Yeah, that's something that's out there more and more now, right?
Again, I saw the first episode. It was about an hour and a half. The second one is another hour and a half. I'm interested to see where he goes with that one. But yeah, I would recommend it in general. Okay. Again, you're not going to walk away whistling Dixie. Well, maybe Dixie.
Well, I hope not.
But you know what I mean. As the phrase goes, you're not going to be whistling zippity doodah. How about we go there? That's for sure. It's definitely a bummer, but more people just need to know this. It's just,
I think
it's ridiculous.
I think like the way you said, a lot of people would probably rather bury their head in the sand. I understand that's a way to not be I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use this, but I don't necessarily mean it like this. Burdened by the knowledge of knowing that this horrible stuff is happening, right? Because
And it feels like a daunting thing. Like, what could I, little Aaron from fucking Los Angeles, do anything about this?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
But I
so
just think-
entrenched. The
Yeah.
people who are doing this are so much more powerful than like one of the things he mentions in it is Citizens United, by doing this, doing these 501 whatevers, essentially, okay, it's illegal for, let's just say, a billionaire to walk up to a politician and hand him $1 billion and say, do this, and I'll give you $1 billion.
Yeah.
But it's not illegal for his corporation to put $3 billion into this dark money hole so a third party can walk over to him and say, hey, you could get all of this if you did these things.
Right.
Like, are you fucking... Look, number one, nobody gives, especially in politics, anything more than $20 and doesn't expect something back in return. Period. End of fucking story. So if I say put my head in the sand, it's simply because it does feel daunting to where you just go, my God, you talk about the chips being stacked against you.
Yeah. I recognize that. And I was gonna say, I think it benefits people just knowing, because they can then start, wherever they decide to cast their vote, or maybe put money in.
Yes.
Now they're a little bit more informed.
Yes.
And if more and more people were informed,
yes,
I think that starts the tide.
I hope so.
Right?
I really, yes. In that sense, I'm with you 100. I wish more people were informed about this. Interestingly enough, without going any more into this, because it doesn't need, that's a topic unto its own. Yeah. But one of the things was Ohio passes this draconian fucking bill about abortion.
Right.
Well, they go to fight that, the people of Ohio. Well, guess what helped fight that? Dark money, because PACs came in and put money into commercials, which he points out, which you kind of want to go, well, that's hypocrisy. But even the bigger hypocrite in me goes, I don't give a shit, because I want women to have autonomy over their own fucking bodies and be able to decide. Yeah. But I'm like, oh my God, but am I part of the problem then too if I'm supporting dark money? That, you know what I mean? It's But again, this is what I love about a document. Any good documentary, you should be walking away asking questions. Am I part of the problem? Am I part of the solution? All these sort of things. And Alex Gibney, I think, just he makes some of my favorite documentaries that I've watched many. That Enron one I've watched probably 3 or 4 times.
Nice.
And it's really well done. And HBO's got it. I would highly recommend it.
Cool.
That's just the usuals. Oh, one I have not mentioned yet, and I know you got to be watching it. I'd love to know Mulaney's live thing. Have you been watching
some
this
of them?
season?
Yeah,
okay.
some of them.
Okay.
I think we watched one episode.
I know your wife's a big fan of his too.
I mean, I am.
I know. I
am because she turned me on to him.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and I love him, and I have been watching good episodes. Still makes me laugh. Very interesting guy, and just what a quirky show in general. But other than that, watching the usuals. How about yourself?
Still watching Daredevil, going through that kind of episode by episode.
Right on.
But I'm letting them stack, and I know it's at this point it's all done.
Right on.
But man, I'm loving the story. I am loving this story.
I have run into now. There was 2 people at my work that have now been raving about Daredevil and saying how much they love it.
So the and again, I'm gonna say this. I said this before, but I've been a fan of Daredevil before I went blind. So I'm not just like, oh, because he's a bird of a feather.
He's like me.
But man, I love the way they portray him in this. The way the Charlie Cox is just his whole portrayal of not just the Daredevil, but Matt Murdock. Mm-hmm. The Punisher has already made his first appearance, and some of the back and forth that they've gone with, it's just like, fuck yeah, man. This is the more street level heroism that I know these comics from, right? Or that I know these comics for, like, to be. It's just cool, and I wish I could see it just so I know what the costumes look like and everything.
Sure.
But going through that slowly, we just reached the Paul Giamatti episode of Black Mirror.
We're still. I haven't even started, and I'm so excited.
That one I'm not gonna spoil because it's still
please.
fresh. But wow, fucking wow! That was, and I get it. I know Paul Giamatti is a fucking celebrated actor.
Yeah, he's great.
Worth all the commendations. I
love him.
Right? But in this one, holy shit, does he make you feel it?
Right on.
He makes you fucking feel it. It is such a... It's called Eulogy, Black Mirror Eulogy. I think it's the 5th episode of 6 so far. We have one more. It's the longest. The longest episode is the last one, I believe. 1 hour and a half. We haven't watched it. I think maybe we'll get to it within the next couple of days of this recording.
We got to get on that. God damn it! I
Yeah,
can't believe
so
it's been this
good,
long.
man. It's so good.
They've never disappointed me. Some are better than others,
Yes.
but
Yeah, yeah,
man, do I love that show.
Yeah,
It's
Amy-
modern. I know I'm not the first to say it. Modern day Twilight Zone,
Of
and I
course. Yeah,
always
yeah.
love the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, Amy and I kind of have like a running list of like what our favorites are, and
Any of these cracking it?
I think, for my inclusion on that list, the Paul Giamatti one
Really?
is very up
Okay,
top. Yeah,
okay,
because
okay.
I know like a lot of people like the San Junipero, the Junipero one, the one where like they have the
Oh, where they're dead and
they're dead and in the
yes,
yeah
the
right?
two girls.
The two girls, yes.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like that one.
Yeah.
This one
It's
is
the only one that actually feels romantic and has a happy ending. I think that's why a lot of people like
well,
that.
this one has, I think, more emotion in it, which tops that episode for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved this episode.
My favorite one is I think if I had to pick, is the one with the English cops and they have the bees.
Oh,
that,
right.
That
Yes.
kill it. Yeah,
Yep,
that's still my favorite one. Mainly because I really like her, the main cop. But I also thought that's one of the first times I can remember going like, oh, they're just doing cop shit that you would see anyway. It doesn't matter that they're women.
Right.
You know what I
right.
mean? They're the same dialogue I would hear coming out of guys.
Yeah,
they're coming out
yeah,
of kind of them. But right on. No, I got to get the family on that shit. Because I know if I even start to watch it without them, it's, what the hell, Dad?
So we've been watching that one, Black Mirror. And then I took in an older movie that was one recommended by one of my brothers. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I just hadn't sat down to take it in. It was called Birds of Prey.
Oh, right.
I forget the secondary part of that title, but it had to do with Harley Quinn.
Right.
Wow, what a fun movie!
Yeah,
it's such a fun movie. I know my brother had some comments about the portrayal of one of the characters. Mm-hmm. It didn't necessarily take away from the movie. I thought it was cool, just that all these other like characters were mentioned, like the Black Canary, Black Mask, and who I found out later to be played by Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
I could not tell. I could not
okay.
tell. Like I just listening to his voice, I was like, "Wow, this dude's fucking hamming it up in all the right places."
Right on.
Being menacing in all the right places.
Oh yeah.
And then when the audio description told me who played the Black Mask,
interesting. Okay.
I was like, "Ewan McGregor, holy shit!"
Yeah.
And then Black Canary was played by, as you mentioned earlier, Jessie Smollett's sister, which I hate just calling her that.
I wish
forget her name.
Smollett's the only thing I can remember is her last name.
Because she has 3 names, like her first, middle, and her last name.
She's great. I like her a lot. I've seen her in a few things that I really enjoy her in.
Yeah. So it was cool, kind of revisiting that world, because I know one of the either executive producers or producers was the director that made Suicide Squad. That famously a lot of people didn't like, right?
Well, another one of those ones too that you go, well, maybe if they just left the person who made the fucking thing make his fucking movie.
Don't get involved.
Who knows?
The studio got heavily involved, and then that whole debacle happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Birds of Prey was fun as hell. I really like it when they do these kind of peripheral stories based in the DC world that don't have anything to do with the main goodies or the main baddies, because I know the Joker gets a lot of lip service, but he's not in it, right? And nor is Batman, and he gets mentioned a lot of times.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Like, all right, like kind of like the Penguin series. It's one of Batman's main enemies,
right?
But you don't see the Batman until the last scene. You see the bat signal.
The signal,
right?
yes.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
I like Birds of Prey a lot.
I looked her up. It's Jury Smollett.
Jury?
Yeah, Journey. Sorry.
Journey. Okay.
Journey.
Journey Smollett.
RNEE. Great actress.
Cool. Yeah,
she's fantastic.
Fantastic. Yeah. So that was a fun.
That is a good
fun
one.
watch. What are you listening to?
Beyond the usuals, I got a deep dive into a few that I really love. Gangstar, probably my favorite hip hop duo. Guru is a fantastic rapper. I love his Jazzmatazz albums. His solo stuff really good. And DJ Premier maybe, if not the best, certainly in the top 5 all time. And their duo together just in a lot of ways is New York 90s hip hop in a lot of ways. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Nas's and stuff like that. I'm not a big Jay-Z guy, never have been, but they just one of my all-time favorites. Another one that I deep dive into, I was kind of in a hip-hop mood, band Dialect. Love them. We got to see them live.
Yeah.
It's just a bummer because it's one of those ones like, hey, here's even one hit, metalheads will like. I was like, well, why? It's hip hop. I know they are more on the kind of ambient tip of how they do beats and so on and so forth. But I'm fucking socially conscious hip hop. I'm always down for, and Dialect is fucking great. I love those guys. Another one, the anniversary of his death came, Pete Steele from Typo Negative. Mm-hmm. So I did some deep diving on that. Actually, mainly just the last 2 albums I don't listen to as much as I listen to the rest. Okay. So I did that, a little bit of Carnivore. Always interesting going back to Carnivore. And very interesting for those at work who got to hear about Jesus Hitler. Yeah. And the other one struck me, Entombed, especially Wolverine Blues. Yeah. I don't own it, but I realized I really should. I really, really like that record. It's really, really good. And just kick-ass band in general. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Wolverine Blues hit, and I must have listened to it about probably 2 or 3 times this week, and that's not usually something I do with one single album.
Entombed is one of my favorite bands. I loved everything they ever put out. I'm a big fan of the death metal stuff, and then when they made the death and roll, I was like, oh yeah, you're not gonna give up any of the heaviness. It's
a ballsy move too. Like I remember Headbangers Ball had them and Carcass, because Heartwork came out at the same time as Wolverine Blues. Yeah. And I remember Ricky Rackman interviewing the 2 of them, and I think they were like at a zoo. It was just like it was like the first hour was Carcass, had I think Jeff and the drummer from Carcass, and then the next hour was Entombed. I know Nick Anderson for sure because he was wearing a shirt, I think it said "I love Satan" on it, and I just remember being like, oh my god, But then premiering their Heartwork and premiering Wolverine Blues, the videos for them. And that was really cool. But yeah, just one of those ones that I was like, you know what? I need to listen to some more Entombed. Let's start with Wolverine Blues. And it was just like, Jesus, man, I want to hear that one again. So.
I remember the Tower Records that was in Monterey Park had displays for both of those albums, like on the top above the doors when you would walk in.
Nice.
At the Wolverine Blues one had Wolverine from the comics.
Oh yeah. A guy I went to school with bought that. He got the limited edition one that had the comic in it. And everything.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't think that's gonna be legit, but fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
Like heavy fucking music with comics.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Well, yeah,
right?
I would imagine, yeah, for you especially, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the music video, and they have Wolverines technically in it. Like, what the fuck's going on, man? Yeah. Other than that, a lot of the usuals. I'm kind of in the middle of Lloyd Banks. He was with 50 Cent's G Unit. I was never a big fan of his, but he put out 3 albums in a row. God damn, I can't remember what they're called. It's just my kind of dark, grimy, boom bap kind of hip hop that I fucking love. He's got a real gravelly voice. And those 3 albums, I've tried other stuff before. Some of the stuff that's after, it's good stuff. Well, those 3 albums just, I don't know, they really connect with me. The Course of Inevitability, 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. Yeah.
And normally I go, Jesus Christ, 3 albums. But dude, every one of them just hits, and I'm in the middle of a little deep dive of his. But other than that, the usuals. It's always something I go back to. How about yourself?
Quite a few things.
Do I know?
Because I missed the show that Earth recently played out here.
Same.
I've been listening to a bunch of their stuff.
Right on. And they played the album that I love the most. Hex.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
It's a great one. So what I did, because I knew I would be missing it.
Sure.
I just got really high and put their music on really loud.
They're amazing.
And now my neighbors are fans of Earth, whether they like it or not.
They too print in the Infernal Method.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I was listening to Earth, and during our interview episode with Dan, he mentioned having played with Babyland, who was a band that I really enjoy and I had not heard in a long time.
Right on.
So I put a few of their albums, the ones that I have at least.
Right on.
I have them on my computer, but I listen to them anyway. But man, it's it's so fun. Like the music is fun. It sounds cheery, but when you know kind of how troubled the person is, I think it naturally takes like a darker tone.
I hear you.
Experimental, gothy, if that counts, because just the again the overtones of the music are in that kind of genre anyway. A lot of keyboards and electronic type stuff. Fun music. I love Babyland.
Right on.
I've been listening to there's this band called Caifanes, which I'm a big fan of. So I went through some of their albums. El Tri is another one that I really fucking enjoy. So I kind of went back and forth with those two.
What are they?
Like rock en español.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And from Mexico, so for me, it's
I
kinda,
did the Espanol math.
Yeah, it's fun because it kind of reminds me of a couple of my cousins.
Right
on. So I listen to that out of I guess nostalgia for them, even though they're still here. I mean, they're
No, I
just
got
different
you.
city. But
Well, that's the beauty of music, right? It can take you anywhere and remind you of the people you love. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So and then I listen to some. He's a ranchero guy. His name's Javier Solis.
Okay.
Probably my favorite of the big ranchero voices from Mexico.
Right on.
Just super dramatic, operatic, in their delivery. I listened to him and Jose Alfredo Jimenez, which is a guy that wrote a song based on my hometown. So I was kind of feeling nostalgic for the old town for a bit. So I listened to that. But yeah, pretty much it. Anybody out there has any stuff that they'd like for us to check out,
please
send it our way. We've thankfully we've been getting some feedback on stuff to check out, whether it's music and movies. But yeah, we'll catch you guys next time.
Take it easy.
Hey folks, thank you so much for checking out the rehearsal room. We super appreciate you spending time with us. If you have any questions, comments, or want to yell at us for any of the takes we've expressed in any of these episodes, you can contact us by emailing us at therehearsalroompod@gmail.com. All one word, therehearsalroompod@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, and now on Blue Sky. Also, if you have any recommendations for any movies or any bands you might want us to check out and give a listen to, feel free to send those in. We always accept submissions. Or if you have any shows coming up that you feel we might be interested in checking out, let us know and we'll give you guys a shout out. But thank you for checking us out, and we'll catch you next time.